Hello everybody, всем привет. Today I want to talk about the pixel transition. So this is like my older version of the game, and let's say we want to build something, like we're going to build the den. We click yes, and then immediately it appears. There's no fade in. When we go pick up an item, it immediately disappears. There's no fade in, fade out, anything like that. If we attack a creature mob, they're just going to disappear. There will be no... They don't fade out at all in that sense. So that's the current behavior of my implementation of the game. Let me show you what the real game does for those exact same functions, and then I'll show you what we did to get some similar functionality working. So notice the treasure chest fades away. That fades away. I didn't show this, but the puzzle map fades in. And if we build the nest, for example, it's going to appear in a pixelated fashion there. Let's just see if we can pick up this artifact. And that fades out, and picking up resources fades out, and again we get this fade in effect. So that's what we're trying to build here. And I gave it a few images. This is of the pikeman structure. What's that called? The blacksmith. That's the blacksmith being built, and you can see the pixel. It's pixelated as it fades in. So I gave that as an example, and I gave two examples of the image fade. Just gave it a couple examples of that, and dumped in a lot of my code. And then said I'm rebuilding this game engine. There's this screen transition pattern for sprites. When a puzzle map is revealed, or a new structure is built, or a creature hero is defeated, or when an item is picked up, or when a teleport spell is used. Those are like the main cases. And so I was estimating that it was about 8 phases over 1600 milliseconds. So about 200 milliseconds per phase. I need to time it a little better because this isn't quite right. I've since revised it to 800 milliseconds, about 100 milliseconds per transition phase, and that might not be correct either. But just getting in a placeholder, this can be tuned pretty easily, whether we add additional phases or adjust the timing. I can do some slow motion video analysis probably and figure something out here. But when you actually exit a screen, there's no pixel transition there. It just switches the screen. So the actual transitions we're going to work on here are item pickup, like a treasure chest or resources or an artifact. Those fade out. When you defeat a monster, when a hero is defeated, or when a hero on a ship is defeated. The defeated hero fades in either of those cases. The monster sprites fade if they're defeated. In the castle screen, we have an appearance when you purchase a structure. It appears. And there's a transition fade from one to another when we travel through a warp gate, when a ship travels through a whirlpool, when a hero uses a warp spell like Dimension Door or Town Gate, or the puzzle screen tiles fade from puzzle piece sprites to being visible land tiles. So just say, can you help me make it happen? I give it an idea of doing this 8 random sprite or 8 random masks for each sprite screen, and then mask or unmask accordingly. And then The screenshots, I'm running the game at 2x resolution, so the screenshots are a little bigger. So yeah, it calls it the cell fade effect. I don't know how much it's been trained. So when it says it's a classic HOMM something something, about half the time it's just making it up and hallucinating something, maybe from something it read on the internet, maybe something from the documentation of Free Heroes 2 or VCMI or some other code repository that the AI was trained on. You never really know. You always have to double check it when it says, this is the classic Heroes of Might and Magic, whatever. I'm immediately distrustful. I've been burned too many times by this AI. Good old Claude, the know-it-all. So it gives me some idea of don't generate these masks. I didn't upload layout.h, so I stopped and I just dumped in some other related files that might help. Let's see. Comes up with some different architecture ideas. And then it says, oh, I'll just leave this unused mask texture path. And I'm like, I'll keep it. It's a legitimate public helper for anyone wanting a single copy shader style path later. I said, no, don't keep unused methods. We don't need that. I'm not just software engineering for the sake of software engineering and writing an unused shader. While it is great work, I'm sure, I just don't need it. So let's rip that out of the code, and that saves me future tokens as well. So the class no longer needs a destructor. Okay, great. It rips out all this stupid stuff it did, builds some tests to test it out. Okay. Does a bunch of stuff and gives me this dissolve function and then this dissolve integration where it tells me where to put it in. This gives me, okay, it can't load it. We'll try once. Okay, well, it's not loading it correctly, but that's just Claude being busy, I guess. But anyway, it tells me where to integrate it into the game main file. And it really only focused, well, it'll tell us in a second. Sorry, it'll tell us in a second what it actually built. I noticed it was missing the puzzle map header, so I threw that in as well. I thought I put that in, but apparently I didn't. So it then figures out the whirlpool warp, the stone liths warp, and town gate and dimension door. Runs through a bunch of this. And so it basically built out these four elements here of doing basically a screen transition when you warp. And we did this dimension door before frame showing the normal mini map, etc., etc. And it finally did give me the game main. I think I asked it to at some point. Oh, can you just make the updates to game main CPP? Yeah, because it gave me this instruction for how to insert at like a bunch of different call sites, and I was like, I gave you the file, I have the tokens, just do it for me. So it gives me the game main, whatever minor updates were made to dissolve, and so I give it recruit because I remember that the genie lamp also dissolves on screen when you finally use it up and do the recruit 0. So I was like, oh yeah, that's in my recruit CPP file. Let's add that in as well, and some of these render utils just in case we didn't do that already. Just things I forgot when you have a limit of 20 files you can drop in, but sometimes I'll just drop in some extra ones just for context in case it helps. It's a little bit inefficient on tokens, but Claude's actually pretty smart about ignoring files that it doesn't need. So I'm a little lazy about being extra strict, or maybe I'm not lazy, but I'm not strict about enforcing, is this really needed or not? So it is, I guess it is lazy of me to just throw the file in just in case. But that strictness isn't required because Claude kind of automatically handles it for you. And anyway, so it starts working on the castle screen and the puzzle map. And then the item pickup monster, hero, ship defeat, fade outs on the map would be kind of the next piece after that. It goes through, none of this is particularly interesting. It's just giving me the play-by-play as it goes through and does all of this. And monster defeat, hero, ship defeat. It says it built all this stuff, did some basic validation. It actually just updates a smaller texture area now. And it was going to do some diffs or something. And I said, don't generate the diff, just the code. So it then just quickly spits out the code. And I was like, hey, so everything was contained in game main. There were no changes to puzzle map or maps because I was a little suspicious of that. But the game main does do all the call sites in my other files. So I did this build and then I made a manual change because the 1600 milliseconds was just too large. Like it was too long of a transition. It just seemed out of sync and too slow. So I didn't like that. And I cut it in half just in the code and it looked a lot better. But then I noticed there was a bit of the timing was a bit off between the sound and the actual dissolve animation. So this is the first build here. Let's build the Mage Guild. You can kind of see it building. That actually looks okay, right? Let's go pick up a treasure chest. And why don't I... See, that kind of faded okay, but the sound effect was a little delayed. Sound effect a little delayed for that. Let's go look at an obelisk here. Okay, it's kind of fading in. That's actually a little fast, so I want to slow that one down. I don't actually know if I should be including the... but this is also interesting to note that the fade-in effect is not being triggered from the adventure panel here. So that... and I don't know if it should actually include these shrines. So maybe my puzzle map needs to also remove these these shrines. I need to probably test that with the proper game. It's possible that that's a minor oversight. So anyway, I sped it up, but I wanted the puzzle map to be slower, and I also want to like see if I can synchronize the sound effects to be a little more in line with the actual animations. So I threw in the latest game main because it was like, I'm going to work from the original game main you uploaded. And I was like, no, please don't do that. Please use the latest version. There's something weird with the way Claude decides which file it needs to work on. And sometimes you just have to pick it up by the scruff of its neck and get it back on track. So anyway, it's going to work on warps, fade outs, and the castle build. Make sure that the sound kind of matches all of that. We're going to make the puzzle animation slower. We're going to try and synchronize the fade out with the times and the pickups of different objects. So it spends a lot of time processing the pickup concept here. Does a bunch of this, gives me a new build, and I'm reasonably happy with this after initial testing. So I say, all right, let's update my architecture file and write a dissolve MD file. So it does all of this, specifies some of this information, gives me some updates to my architecture file that like basically describes what each file in my project does. So then it presents those. Well, then I notice actually that the puzzle map didn't trigger. And actually, maybe I can show this again. There was a weird, kind of a weird bug um, that the border disappears. See, the border disappeared there for a second, and that's weird. That's not supposed to be the case. So I called that out as well and said, so the puzzle map has triggered the viewport frame. This board BMP file is not rendered. And then when the puzzle map is opened and the adventure panel, the transition doesn't happen on the puzzle pieces. So please take a look at the possible call site you missed. Perhaps you didn't see it because I didn't share the adventure panel and the render UI. So it looks at those, it definitely understands that it basically took a screenshot of the puzzle map before the border was rendered, and it needs to do that after. So like the border gets overlaid after the fact, and it needs to overlay the border before it captures that screenshot for the transition that it's going to compute. And then problem 2 was it really just missed a call site. So this open puzzle map is called with no dissolve. The puzzle just appears instantly. So it goes through, comes up with some fixes for this. Took a while, but it made that, and then made the it updated the dissolve documentation for me as well. So let me just pull that up and show you what the finished product looks like. So it's still dissolving a little slow relative to the sound. So I might need to tune that dissolve timing a little bit. But it's, it's looking pretty good, and there might be like another tier of dissolve that I need to work out instead of having these larger pixels. I may need to do something where the here, let's build how about the Adobe? That's a nice big structure. So that looks okay. The sound seems pretty synchronized. I'm happy. I love noticing the horse's tail animating, and just lots of little cool animation factors. So I've mostly captured it, and there might be some minor adjustments that need to be made to really make this pixel perfect with the original. And it might even require a small adjustment to the architecture so that the sound plays. But it's I mean, I really do notice it the most with the pickup sound, so I maybe need to make those just faster. But if we go just back again to the original game, I think it actually breaks into like a finer level of pixel detail. And so I may be doing it in like 2 to 4 to 8 pixel blocks. So my pixel blocks may be just too large for this. Okay, we have to wait for the introduction here. That sometimes happens. I've actually removed that for the most part from the current version of the game that I have. I don't really like the intro. I should put it in at the end, but I'm saving it for last. So the sound plays while it disappears, and it disappears in sort of a finer pixelated level, and I'm gonna lose this game. So let's actually see if my hero, well, actually this isn't my build, so of course it's gonna work. But so the hero fades out there, you see, and let's just build an Adobe. And yeah, I think the pixelation is actually smaller, and so that might be one fix that I make to this game, or to this method, will be to adjust the pixelation to be smaller, and I may end up adjusting the flash, not the flash speed, the animation speed as well.